Music Live.
Yo, yo.
First of all, can you introduce yourself for the people who don't know you yet?
Yeah, I'm Jason, and I sing and play guitar in Bury Tomorrow.
And I'm Daniel, and I am the frontman of Bury Tomorrow.
Okay, so we can start with your inspiration for the new album, 6 in the new album.
Number 6, crazy. I guess our inspiration is always kind of the same musically. Like, we want to be better, and we want to show off that we've worked hard on our craft, and we just want to be a better band musically every time. And I think as far as lyrically, it was just a very honest record, really, for us. Probably the most honest record we've ever done, and I think that was the main idea behind that. Really.
Yeah, for sure. I think, as Jay said, I think musically we just try and push ourselves. Obviously, every record, it's our obligation to be better at what we do, and that's always our driving force behind it. But then, as he said, like from a lyrical point of view, I delved into kind of where I'd been lyrically. I went into kind of where I'd been mentally over the last couple of years. And we're just super honest about it, really. We didn't tie it up in metaphors or hidden meanings. It was very straight up this time, and started that process theme-wise around the whole record, being focused on that, which was something I think new for us, that we'd never done before.
Okay, cool. Did you write all together, or some of you? Lyrics.
Yeah, musically, we're very hands-on, like all 5 of us. We all like to have an opinion and have a say. So musically, our lead guitarist Kristen, he will compile some demos of riffs, and then he'll bring them to me. And on all of us, to be fair, we all have a listen, and we all just have a pick and a play. And I normally get really, really picky with stuff. This time it was just such a quick process, because we'd done our Black Flame campaign. Well, halfway through it, we started writing this record, and then recorded it during that campaign as well. So it was all very quick, and it moved really quickly, which meant we had to do it a little bit differently this time. Our lead guitarist came to my house for a while, and we just really sat and dissected everything demo wise. And then lyrically, it was a much different process this time. Dan normally would come up with a concept of a record and songs and ideas and song names and lyrics and send them to me, and we discuss stuff as we went. This time was a little bit different. We didn't really talk. we kind of I left him to it, and he kind of did his own thing and came to me with lyrics just before we went into the studio, and then it kind of drip feed song here and there, because I went in first before Dan did. And it was just a really honest approach from Dan that I'd not really experienced before, which made that quite fresh for me, and made me be able to almost tackle what I do a little bit differently. In general, it's a collaborative process, but lyrically, this one especially has been really driven by Dan and his mindset. As he just previously mentioned, in the last couple of years before the record. And then that really encompassed the entire concept of the album, and then that became what we were singing about, what the artwork's about, what the song title's about. It really encapsulated the whole thing, and I think that was pretty cathartic for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it definitely had a therapeutic process behind it, which was something that music does for me anyway. But it's being so honest and being so open about like my mental health or my self-loathing and deprivation. It was really interesting. It connected even us after being musicians together for 14 years. I think it's you think you know everything about people, but really when you get down to it being really specific, it's quite an interesting process. Really, it's something new for us, which there isn't many news these days for us because we're old. So.
Because usually the music came from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually, yeah, it's weird. So the music for us, like instrumentally, is quite similar to how it's always been. It's almost like this way of working is like the new garage band. So when we first started, it was get into Jace's garage and write a song all together and see how it sounds and then pick it apart there. Whereas this way of demoing it on a computer is like, that's kind of the new version of that, really, that everyone can have an input, everyone can be focused on it, but you can just edit it and listen to it over and over again. So we've been on that journey already, and I think this time was no different to that. We just spent a lot of time ripping songs apart this time.
Okay, when did you met exactly?
When we met,
yeah,
geez.
you said that in
When I was 17
17
years old, so it was only
3 years ago.
Only 4 years ago. No, it was 2006, I think, 2007 when we first met.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a long time ago now.
It's about 13, 14 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, so we're it's a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
Too long time?
No, not too long. Maybe more in the
maybe
tank.
like at certain points it feels like that. We're in a great spot right now.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it feels good.
So,
Okay. The 3 Neil song on the new album we heard, it is there's a common thread, I think. Ill being, sort of ill being.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular message to give?
I think all of the songs that people will hear will have a similar vein to them. I don't think there won't be any surprises. It's not going to suddenly take some positive turn on the rest of the album where people go, oh my god, it's really happy now. I think all the songs will certainly have a similar feeling. They all have their different nuances, so they all have different things that really of where I was, I suppose, when I wanted to write that kind of theme to that album, so that song. So they have different feels, but they all are under one bracket of, self-depreciation or self-loathing, or being a cannibal to yourself or the environment around you being a cannibal towards you, and it's that kind of that feeling that is the thread between the albums. So I think you're right to think that they all generally have that feeling, and they generally will for the rest of the album, and some more so than others. So some's really, really blatant and really obvious with how I've spoken about, and others will take a little bit more kind of delving into or picking apart for people to understand. But that's the best thing about music, is that people can take their own interpretations. It just becomes a lot harder for when you're that blatant for people not to really understand exactly what I was talking about when I was, writing about that song. So it is, it's definitely got a very similar, probably more so than any other record we've ever done. They all have a similar vein to what they're about.
Because sickness, depression, or your being, could you think your music or music in general can be a therapy?
Yeah, no doubt. I think music is what you take of it. I think it's super subjective. I think some people take music for what it is, which is a nice song, and people that like tapping their feet along to metal music or banging their head, or just connoting feelings of being at a show with their best mates and having a good time. And so for that, yes, it probably does have an organic therapeutic process for people because it's something that they like. For other people, they really delve into lyrics and they delve into feeling, and and I think at very least by talking about stuff within music lyrically that is quite hard to listen to from a mental health perspective is therapeutic, not only for myself being able to talk openly and honestly about that kind of stuff, but then also for other people to, at very base level, understand that they're not alone in thinking that way. Even we could be people's favourite bands, and I'm sure we are, and the frontman of their favourite band has gone through 2 years, have everything made in their eyes, it's had a life that a lot of people would want to have, and can still go through that. So I think it's an opportunity to understand that that is possible, and it's no one's exempt from that kind of feeling, or physical and mental health. No one's exempt. We're all human beings just trying to survive throughout the world, and it's just about normalising that understanding of that we all go through things. We're not some ethereal beings that don't get sick and we don't get ill, both physically and mentally. We all go through that, so it's a combining factor of that. So I think music does that sometimes to people.
Definitely.
Okay. Another one, metalcore has become very popular lately.
Bastards.
However, how do you stand out from the other?
We are the better.
What is your approach?
I mean, our approach. I think we stand out vocally, and I think, you know, I think for us, we've never really tried to change the wheel, if that makes sense. We've never tried to reshape what metalcore is. We had a really vivid idea of what we thought it was when we were kids, and that stayed with us. That, you know, we've always kept that same mindset that this is what we think metalcore is. I don't think it's the most original thing ever, but I think that lyrically and vocally, me and Dan can put a stamp on it that makes our sound very tomorrow. And I think that's something that we're extremely lucky and extremely humbled by, and it's a big reason why we get to write music that we love. So yeah, I think what makes us different, if I was just speaking to someone that had never heard us before, I'd probably say vocally.
Yeah, and I think as well, you hit the nail on the head, is that we've been doing, we've never faltered in our influences. Like, our influences are people that we grew up listening to. You know, As I Lay Dying, Killswitch Engage, like those are the bands that started our band when it, you know, Darkest Hour, At the Gates, like bands that really ruled melodic metal music, and also some of those bands championing the word metalcore, you know, and pre us being a band. We didn't invent that genre, it was them that invented it, and we flew that flag with them through that. And I think, like anything, if you've been doing that for so long, you only get better and better at it, because we haven't tried fingers crossed, but you're not trying to be anything that actually is either outside of your skill set or is something that you don't believe in and you don't love. And actually, because you're only going to get better and better at doing something that you absolutely... I love that kind of music, you know, I listen to that kind of music, but we have never changed and gone, well, actually, no, they're too old now, we can't think about those bands, we've got to think about new bands. They're still our biggest influences, and if people were to ask us today, name 4 bands that are your biggest influences, those 4 bands would pop straight back up. And so it's that kind of like, if you don't change your influence, you really, but still try to be that band that's being a modern band in the new age, it's an original place to be in.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's just, you know, it really is. We had an idea of what we wanted to sound like, and that's never really changed. We just worked on getting better and better at it, really. But yeah, the focus and the idea of our sound has never changed. And it's funny because I think at a certain point in time, metalcore was a dirty word in many ways. It wasn't a word that bands wanted to be branded with. I think, especially early on in our career, it was always about being as heavy as possible, and really being like, we're a heavy band. You know, that's the difference between your radio pop band and us. We're really heavy. Whereas metalcore obviously tries to blend the both a little bit, being melodic. So when we first started, it was, as I say, a bit of a dirty word, but we've always latched onto it because we genuinely felt like what we do is almost the purest style of melodic metalcore. And yeah, as you say, it's become pretty popular in the past 5 years. So we probably look like we're jumping on a bandwagon, but genuinely, we're just sticking to something that we all sat round and spoke about, you know, 13, 14 years ago. So
it's okay, you're older than
yeah, that's it.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So we've got the proof.
Yeah, that's it.
We've got the birth certificates of proof.
Yeah.
Okay. Your latest arrival in France dates from 2018, if I'm right. Yeah. What about the touring in 2020 in Europe, in France?
So the Cannibal campaign, obviously, we released the record April 3rd, and it will stretch out 2020 and 2021. We have a big summer planned, doing some of the major festivals in Europe in June. Really bummed out we can't come to Hellfest. Would have loved to have done that.
Yeah, Hellfest, please book us again.
Yeah, but we're doing many across Europe that we've done before, and some new ones like Nova Rock, Greenfield. So yeah, and then we've got a UK European headliner at the end of the year coming around November, December time. I can't really talk about where or when, but that's coming. And then we'll be carrying on into 2021. And yeah, we'd love to come back to France, man. We had a really good time last time we were here headlining. Was it? I can't say.
Le Petit Band.
Yeah. But it was great.
Place.
Yeah.
A small boat.
It was cool, man. It was really cool. We had a lot of fun.
Moved a lot now.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it definitely moved. Our equipment was just going like this.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's a cool experience. I don't think I ever played in a boat before I came to France.
No.
That was always.
And then we played in 3, so we
Yeah.
did Batufar and the
many
Petit
boats
Baron.
here, many venue boats.
I have one last question, one more. What is your actual playing list on your phone?
I am listening quite an eclectic bunch, aren't we? We listen to a lot of different stuff. I am listening to. I love heavy. I mean, I'm a big Thy Art Is Murder fan. Been listening to the new Suicide Silence stuff. Like, I'm a big heavy fan. But I also really enjoy some rock bands. There's a band called Dinosaur Pilot from the UK that I've been listening to a lot. Really cool rock band. And I also listen to a bit of pop as well. I like a bit, I'm really into a melody. I love it.
Pop, electro, or no?
No, more like your real standard
Go on,
radio.
tell them which
Hip-hop?
one it is.
You
Yeah.
listen to hip-hop?
Hip hop,
No.
not so much. I mean, every now and then, it's more like that sort of music for me is like a specific, almost time of the day. Like a time of the month where I'm like chilling, and like that's the sort of music I listen. But as far as like going out of my way to listen to music, almost like I'd watch a movie. Yeah, it has to have more than booms.
I heard about discovered a few times ago Ghostman.
Okay.
Ghostman. It's
Okay, I don't know.
it's ex metal player, guitarist,
Okay.
and he's singing hip hop.
No worries.
It's
That's
American.
awesome. Yeah, because I'm
Cool.
I'm into. I would say I'm into like fair
cool
weather
difference.
hip hop. So I'm like your Biggies and your like Notorious B.I.G. and Dr. Dre and all your kind of fair weather. That's like when people say they're into
90s,
hip hop, but they're
90s.
not. Yeah, they're not overly into hip hop because they just like
Yeah,
those.
it's cool.
But then I'm also, like Jace, I'm really eclectic in. I like metalcore. I'd say I'm into like that world. I like bands like
I think
Seven
it's
Dust.
hard. It's hard to get deep into another genre.
Yeah.
When the genre, like this is our lives.
Yeah,
we're
but then
living
to
out our
some
lives.
would say it's hard to get into that genre because we're in it as well. Because I can't listen to metalcore bands like probably what other people listen
No,
to
but
because
I
I'm
guess-
like I'm in that genre.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and that's probably why I don't listen to a lot of new bands, to be honest. But luckily, we were fans before.
Yes.
So we've got that
Yeah.
nostalgia.
What about French? Do you know some French?
Gajira.
Yeah, Gajira is probably the only band I know.
Betraying the Martyrs, another heavy band from France.
Yeah,
Pretty
they
cool. But that's probably all
Yeah,
I
for
know.
metal bands, yeah, they're the only two that I really know.
Cool French scene, metal scene. Yeah.
Nice, cool.
No, it's good that you've got as well Gajira headline, like being that thing, because at least you've got a massive band that other bands can kind of. It grows a scene with a big band. If you're in a country without a big band, it makes.
We have
very
one,
difficult.
I send you the link, it's Landmarks
Oh, yes.
Oh,
from
yeah.
Marseille, from south of France.
Oh, nice.
It's in metalcore.
Yeah,
cool.
I've definitely heard the name. Have they got is it like a triangle? Is
Yeah,
there a name?
yeah.
I've definitely heard the name.
Oh, Landmarks, yeah.
Landmarks.
Yeah, we played with them. They played Hard Rock Cafe with us.
Did they?
I'm pretty sure they did, yeah.
Cool, yeah, I've definitely heard of them.
We're just really old and ignorant, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
No worries, thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Can you say a word for our listener of BGP music?
Well, I just want to say, merci beaucoup.
Yeah, mercy what he said. Message would be enjoy Cannibal, listen to Cannibal, connect with it, and just
Come see us at a show.
come see us at a show.
Shout
if
at
enough people in
Hellfest.
France listen to it, we will come. We will come to a show.
Shout at Hellfest to book us again.
Yeah.